Good evening and welcome. My name is Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent for the Southwest Region. Welcome to everyone and thanks for joining us. This evening, we have interpretation services. Now the interpreters will explain how to access the services. American Sign Language.
Good evening. You have two sign language interpreters this evening. You can see us by noticing that we will be spotlighted by taking turns. The off interpreter will have their camera off, and the current interpreter who's highlighted will have their camera on. Thank you.
Spanish interpreter.
Buenas noches y bienvenidos. Esta junta se transmitirá en español para aquellas personas que lo necesiten. Para acceder a esta junta en español, presione el icono del globo en la parte de abajo de su ventana de Zoom y seleccione el idioma español. Le repito, para acceder a esta junta en español, presione el icono del globo en la parte de abajo de su ventana de Zoom y seleccione el idioma español. Muchas gracias.
Burmese interpreter.
မင်္ဂလာပါဒီနေ့စကားပြောနေတာကျွန်တော်မေချိုပဲเนาะဗမာစကားလိုမျိုးပြန်မိမယ်အခုဒီနေ့ရဲ့ session မှာအားအုံးမှာနေလိုင်းကဘာလုံးနေလိုင်းကနေကြရင်ဟိုဆိုတာဗာလဲကိုဗမာစကားနဲ့အင်္ဂလိပ်စကားကိုပြောင်းလို့ရတယ်เนาะကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်တယ်
Karen interpreter.
Hello, Hikawade. Aweta hai aweta wita fruta weta klekai o weta do paklotia puina. Wale edo loko weta paklotia pulo baginya flone. Awena chalo weta hakuwo so tuma hakuwa so ne beke weta le Karen mama weta le pa Karen ni chalo weta Karen lo ne modu ne. Awe paklotia poka porama.
Somali interpreter.
galab wanaagsan haddaad jecesha inaad kulankan af Soomaali ku dhageysatid waxaad taabanaysaa meesha ugu hooseyso gacantaada midigta ah kabacdi turjuwaan ayaa kugu jiro Soomaali ayaa dooranaysaa luqado badan ama meesha ku jiro markaa Soomaali dooratid markaas kabacdi waxaad maqli doontaa kulankan oo dhan oo af Soomaali lagu sharaxayo mahadsanid
Rohingya interpreter.
Assalamualaikum, ana medera bizana aite twara Rohingya interpreter. Twara to Rohingya hotamare interpreter funto mono hoile nisetino kolamo mare twara sibione twara basha choose kori pariba ere bod o onno zator hotaya ase to twara Rohingya sibione Rohingya hotamare funi pariba. Thank you.
Punjabi interpreter.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਗਲੋਬ ਇੰਟਰਪ੍ਰੀਟਰ ਆਈਕਨ ਤੇ ਕਲਿੱਕ ਕਰਿਓ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨੂੰ ਪਸੰਦ ਕਰਿਓ ਜੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨੂੰ ਪਸੰਦ ਕਰੋਗੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਆਪਣੀ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਣ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ
French interpreter.
Bonsoir. Si vous souhaitez écouter cette réunion en français, veuillez cliquer sur l'icône du globe en bas de l'écran et sélectionner le français. Après avoir sélectionné le français, vous pourrez entendre toute la réunion dans votre langue. Merci.
Thank you so much to all our interpreters. And again, my name is Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent for the Southwest Region. And again, I welcome you all today to this wonderful opportunity of this virtual parent engagement session. Joining me today will be some panelists, Janelle Hawkins, Senior Director of Citywide Region, Dr. Tony Dinkins, Regional Superintendent of the East Region, Jennifer Mims-Howell, Interim Chief Academic Officer, Therese Shepard, School Nurse, Susan Waldock, School Nurse, Leighton Cooper, Recreation Coordinator, Jacqueline Meifert, Extended Learning Coordinator, Natalie Anderson, Extended Learning Opportunities Manager, Dr. Jennifer Smith, Regional Superintendent of the High School Region, Mr. Maurice Turner, Instructional Leadership Director of the High School Region, and Miguel Sanchez, Instructional Director for the East Region. The purpose of today's session is to ensure families and students understand what to expect as students return to the classroom. We want the outcome to be that parents receive clarity and get questions answered. Again, this is the third session that we've held as we prepare to welcome our last group of students, our high school students who will be returning. Because of the size of this meeting, We will have the question and answer function for communication this evening. You will be able to submit questions through the question and answer box located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Again, that's at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You'll be able to submit your questions. Your questions will be answered. Some of them will be answered during the presentation by the information that you received. Others will be collected. We will collect all the information that you give us in that question and answer section, and we will put it on the frequently asked questions at the opening website for Milwaukee Public Schools. We will also have some time at the end to ask a few questions and get all those questions answered. Again, it's important to understand that if we don't answer your question live or your question isn't answered through the presentation, we will make sure to collect all of those questions and answer them in a very timely manner, and those will be presented in the reopening website for MPS in the frequently asked question. Everything we do in the Milwaukee Public Schools revolves around our 5 priorities for success: increase academic achievement and accountability, improve district and school culture, develop our staff, ensure fiscal responsibility and transparency, strengthen communication and collaboration. And as we move forward tonight, and as we move forward with reopening for in-person instruction, you will see that all of those 5 priorities are taken into account. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Janelle Hawkins.
Well, good evening. Not exactly sure. I think the host still has my camera. Good evening, families. I'm sorry, there it is. Hello, welcome tonight. As Mr. Galvan said, my name is Janelle Hawkins. I am the Senior Director of the Citywide Region. And so again, just wanted to share the agenda with you on tonight. We will start with just going over some of the expectations around what in-person learning will look like with your students. We'll talk about our academic expectations. We'll go a little bit deeper into parent support and where you can find information to help you through your journey of in-person learning. We'll talk about special education and what you can expect for your students if they're receiving services. Also, we'll share some things around nursing services. We do realize we're in the middle of a pandemic, so we want to make sure that you understand what is expected around nursing and how we'll keep everyone safe and healthy during this time. And then also our before and after school opportunities. We want to make sure that you know firsthand. We know we've been in a pandemic and doing a lot of things virtually, but we're already preparing for what can happen after school is out, as we'll talk about some of our summer opportunities. And as Mr. Galvan stated, we'll take some questions and answers to make sure that you get the information that you need. Parents, tonight is for you. We want to make sure that we take care of you and answer your questions. We know it's a lot of information, but here again, this night is for you. The first thing we want to do is just really welcome you back to in-person learning. Our tagline has been ready, set, let's return to in-person learning. And so as you all know, the Milwaukee School Board voted on March 23rd for in-person learning. And our model looks like this. We are in school on Mondays and Tuesday, and Thursday and Friday. Wednesday is our different type of day, meaning students are at home virtually with an asynchronous day with a small chunk of time in the morning checking in with their teacher and getting their assignments. And so Wednesday is also a day that we're doing some very deep cleaning in our building. And so this is what our model looks like. As you know, we welcomed our kindergarten, our K-3 through 3rd grade students back on April 14th. We welcomed our 4th through 8th grade students back on April 19th. And we are very excited to welcome our seniors, the class of 2021, back on April 26th, as well as those students needing targeted assistance. Now, please keep in mind that all of those students that are returning to in-person learning, those families have completed a survey that was due to us on April 1st. And so at this point, we have all of our students that will be returning in person, and we are excited to start talking about what those academic expectations will look like. And so we are moving very quickly toward the end of the year, but we're not going to count the days. We're going to make these last days count. And so what I mean by that is we're going to transition from virtual to in-person learning. We know that our students have mastered so many things in terms of technology, as well as adults and families. But we now are going to transition to in-person learning. We'll be doing a lot of our instructional design, which is whole, small, whole. And so teachers will have an opportunity to really work with our students that are remaining virtual, as well as those students who will be in the classroom, excuse me. And so we have a term that teachers will do things where they're talking to the kids on the meet, and they're also talking to kids in the seat. And so it has been very exciting to see the kids talking to each other and teachers exchanging different ideas, because we are also prioritizing that content learning and the emphasis on grade level content and instructional rigor. And so teachers are receiving training, and we're making sure that people are equipped to do this new work in the midst of this pandemic. Our focus is going to be on depth of instruction. So we're not going to just run through things. We're going to slow down and make sure students are getting exactly what they need. And so teachers are providing students with the additional supports that they'll need here again as we transition from virtual to in-person learning. Some of the things that we're very proud of in terms of quality instruction is really making sure that our teachers are still very much so focused on priority standards. And for parents, priority standards are basically those things that, what do students need to know at every grade level? And so we have really mapped out like what those priority standards will look like. We know that there's some kids who may need some intervention due to this pandemic. There's some kids who may need acceleration. Like a lot of kids are thriving and really doing well. And so we want to make sure that we are teaching to each modality. And so we are going to continue to do those things. There's a lot of explicit teaching happening, which is gradual release. Thinking about, I'm going to do something and then we're going to do it. And then you have an opportunity to do it on your own. And so we will work on all of those things with your young person. Also keeping in mind that we will talk a lot about our school-wide expectations in terms of the CDC and the health requirements. Teaching and learning is not new for us. And so we know exactly what that means, but we do have to make sure that our health and safety guidelines are in place. And so school leaders, principals, and teachers will talk a lot to students about that. We also want to make sure that we don't omit the fact that we do know that a lot has happened during this pandemic. And so our social and emotional learning will also take place every morning during our return to in-person learning. Technology will still be a big part. We will be expecting students to still create, collaborate, communicate, and think critically about how they use these digital tools now that they're in person. Assessments will be taken just to really assess where kids are, how much we have gained, how much we've improved, and if there's any learning loss that has happened. Not just learning loss due to virtual learning, but just learning loss in the midst of the pandemic and students being focused. So we'll spend some time talking about that. And then you'll hear a little bit more about our summer opportunities and how you can expect to really keep accelerating your young person during the summertime. Again, we talked about creating that positive culture. And so all of our teachers have received what we've referred to as creating a positive culture, 30-day plan of what that could look like. And so we really just wanted to model for teachers what exactly that could look like. And so here again, thinking about those welcome activities. So as your young person is coming back to school, want to make sure that we welcome them to to this school year. Not that they're starting fresh, but they're welcoming them back into the building. We also are going to spend a lot of time talking about those health and safety practices, and you families can help us out with that. And here again, talking about that social and emotional learning, and keeping in mind that we know that your seniors will be obtaining credits. And so we're going to make sure that they get everything that they need. At this time, I want to turn it over to Dr. Dinkins, who's going to walk a little bit more into the parent support.
Thank you, Ms. Hawkins. Good evening, parents and families of our high schoolers and any extra families that have joined us this evening. Again, I am Dr. Dinkins, Regional Superintendent for the East Region, and I'm really excited to share with you tonight some resources that we put together to support our students and our families as our students return back to the classroom. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our day in the life of an NPS student module. We actually are going to see this module. It's 2 minutes for high school. For our kindergarten through 8th grade students, it was a 4-minute module. But really, this video is really going to tell our students and our families what they can expect before school, things that they should do at home, what they can expect on the bus ride if they are taking transportation, how school might look different once they get there, and then even lunch and dismissal procedures and on the way home. And so we're really excited to showcase that. And then right after this slide, we're actually going to show that 2-minute high school version of the video. We have also held parent engagement sessions. We held our first one on March 31st. That one was for our kindergarten through 3rd grade students who returned first back to the classroom. We held one last week for our 4th through 8th grade families. And then today, April 21st, is our last session for our high school students and families. And so we really are trying to ensure that, you know, we cross all of our T's and dot all of our I's, and we answer your questions and ease any anxieties our parents and families may have and students about returning to the classroom. We also created a family guide, which is really a 1-page quick fact guide. And it has information on it about school routines, safety protocols, and even academics. And I'm actually going to go deeper into that later on in the presentation. But I guess our vision for this family guide was really to have it at home. We wanted our school communities to send it home with our students, and then our parents to kind of put that on the refrigerator or somewhere accessible so that answers can be readily available for you. Like, does my child need a mask? Will they have a hot lunch? All of those types of things can be answered on that family fact guide. And then last but not least, we've asked all of our school leaders and communities to hold their own school level parent engagement sessions. We know you want to hear from the principal and your child's teachers. And so if you have not received an invite for a parent engagement session in the last few weeks, look for one coming in next week, or ask your principal about when are you going to actually have a parent engagement session with the school community so that you can ask those deeper questions about how school will look pertaining to your child's specific school. As we move to the next slide, we are actually going to ask tech support to take over the screen and actually show our day in the life of an NPS student, the high school version. Again, this is a 2-minute video, and it is going to really just highlight what parents and students can expect as the high schoolers return.
I'm sure you're wondering what your day-to-day will look like as an MPS student when we begin to return to the classroom. This video will hopefully help explain ways for you to keep yourself and others safe while we make this transition.
Over the next few minutes, we're going to take you through what your school day would look like. My day starts by doing a quick mental check of how I'm feeling. I use a thermometer to check my temperature. If I'm feeling sick, I'm staying home.
As I leave the house, I make sure to have my mask with me. Masks should cover your nose and mouth and be worn on the bus and while you're at school. I'm going to limit the number of personal belongings I'm bringing with me to school because any materials I need will be provided once I'm there.
When the bus pulls up, I head right to my assigned seat. I try to follow social distancing practice to stay safe.
At school, you will notice a bunch of signs on the walls, doors, and floors. These signs will help guide me where I walk and what to do while I transition to class.
As I move through the hallways, I make sure I'm staying 6 feet apart from my other students. My mask is on over my nose and mouth, and I'm moving quickly to my next class.
During the day, feel free to use the hand sanitizer stations located throughout the building. The number of students allowed in the bathroom will also be limited, so I make sure to plan accordingly, and I don't get frustrated if I have to wait.
Lunchtime is going to look different from how it has in the past. The cafeteria has limited seating. so I may be eating in my classroom. I help out by making sure my area is cleaned and sanitized when I'm done.
At the end of the day, I listen to the adults in the building as they help me to my dismissal location.
The bus ride home goes like the bus ride to school. I sit in my assigned seat and wear my mask once I get home. I leave my shoes by the door, wash my hands, and wash my mask so it can dry.
We made it through the day. It may feel weird at first, but each day will build into a routine. Thank you for working with us to make sure you and everyone else stays safe. You help make us, MPS, proud.
All right, so that was our high school version of the video. I do just want to clarify that if you actually did complete the survey and you haven't received confirmation about your child returning, please contact your child's school and principal right away. We want to make sure that as the days are coming up that they should be in class, that you get that question answered. So I did want to make sure I answered that for someone in the chat. Next slide, please. Want to just go over our quick fact guide because I think this is going to answer a lot of questions too that might be coming up in the Q&A section. So again, remember the quick fact guide was created just to provide families a quick overview of what key areas of returning to school is going to look like in order to keep students and staff safe and for students to be successful while they return into the classroom. So I want to go over kind of a high level overview of what can be found on the quick fact guide. And this is also on our reopening site. And so at the end of this presentation, Mr. Galvan will share a link that will take you to a lot of these resources. But in terms of school routines, one question I saw in the Q&A is about times returning, school start and end times. So remember, all schools have specific start and end times. And so you should really call your child's school to ensure that you know what time school starts and what time school ends. Arrival, dismissal, lunch, recess, even bathroom breaks will look different from previous years. But one thing that's going to stay the same is that we do want all of our kids to attend. And so if your child is virtual, we want them to log on every day. If your child is coming in person, we do want them to be at the school on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. As we look at our transportation bucket, families of students who completed the survey and they indicated on the survey that they needed transportation, NPS Transportation Department is working hard to ensure that those students have routes. You should have received in the mail a yellow transportation card that will tell you where your child's corner or pickup time and spot is. If you haven't received that, it should be coming in the mail in the next few days if you're high school, because we are coming back on Monday for our high school students. But again, just a reminder, on the buses, we're asking one of the safety protocols, please remind your kids to wear their mask. They will need a mask on the bus. When thinking about materials to prevent cross-contamination of any kind, we are asking our students and families to limit any shared items. So at school, students will have their own personal items that they will be using, and they will not be sharing items. And in most cases, the school will have all of the academic materials needed. We do know that a lot of high school students have academic texts that they will need. So we're asking you to, again, participate in those school level parent engagement sessions and ask those questions so you can clear up any information about what is needed at school. But students can, if your child does bring a cold lunch and they like to have that, they definitely want to make sure we reiterate that they can have a cold lunch at school. Safety protocols to remember is that school staff, school leaders, our building and maintenance staff, our nursing staff, we're all really working hard to ensure that our staff and students are safe while at school. But you can help us by doing one thing, making sure that if your child is sick, that they stay home. It's okay to stay home and log on virtually if needed and complete asynchronous or independent work. And make sure you call the school to let them know that your child is going to be staying home because they are not feeling well. If you get a call from your child's school, please make sure, and the school is reporting that your child is sick, please make sure that you go ahead and pick up your child from school as soon as possible. We know that you are our partners in this and we want to keep everyone safe. When thinking about facilities, again, students will be virtual on Wednesdays to allow, as Ms. Hawkins talked about earlier, for deep cleaning of the building. We have additional staff on hand that is cleaning and sanitizing high touch and high used areas. And we're going to continue this throughout the rest of the school year because we want all of our staff and students to remain safe. And then last but definitely not least, we are excited to welcome our students back and to continue to build upon providing them a high quality education and instruction, both virtually and in person. Schools have created tutoring plans and schedules that will enable them to work with students that are struggling. If you have questions about any type of, I know in this presentation, we're going to talk about summer school opportunities, but if specific needs are not being met right now, we're asking all of our parents and families to reach out to the school principal so that they can ensure that your child receives any of the resources that they need in order for them to continue to be successful this school year. We are encouraging all of our families to enroll their child in any summer opportunities that we're offering. And we have some specific information that's going to be shared before this presentation ends. But for now, I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer Mims-Howell, who will kind of discuss any special education needs.
Thank you, Dr. Dinkins. Good evening, families. I am Jennifer Mims-Howell, Acting Chief of Academics. In an effort to continue to provide all students, including students with disabilities, with learning opportunities, in-person instruction for our high schoolers will begin on April 26th. The academic expectations that are set for our students are expectations that Milwaukee Public Schools staff is here to provide support with. Parents can ask for an individual education plan, an IEP, meeting to be held to discuss the goals of the student. In reviewing the grades and the student data, this will help us determine if the student is making academic and functional progress towards their IEP. It is a parent's decision for a student to return to in-person instruction. However, we are here to support the needs in person and virtually. Implementation of the IEP related services and non-conventional programs will be supported by the teachers and the support staff, no matter if your child returns in person or continues virtually. It is our goal to offer activities to help students achieve their IEP goals. For students who remain virtual, special education services will be provided as written in the contingency plan of their IEP. In-person instruction is an option for all students with individual IEPs. IEP meetings can be held because Milwaukee Public Schools continues to conduct these meetings. In a setting, to set up a meeting, please contact your school's classroom teacher and they will assist with this. IEP meetings can be conducted via phone or on a virtual platform, whichever is agreeable to the parent or the guardian. A revision of service, comp ed discussions, as well as additional services can all be discussed in the context of an IEP meeting. Extended school year will also be offered this year. It is part of our summer academy. During the IEP meeting, ESY services can be discussed with the parent and guardian for the students who are eligible. The determination is being made for a student to attend a summer academy program will be in the best interest of the student's learning environment. We are here to help educate and make sure the students' needs are met. Milwaukee Public Schools continues to receive referrals and will comply to all required timelines, including those of conducting an evaluation prior to the end of the school year. If a parent or a guardian has a specific question regarding a student with a disability, please feel free to reach out to your child's teacher. They know your child best. If not, feel free to also call the Department of Specialized Services at 414-438-3648. Again, that number is 414-438-3648. Thank you for being partners with us in your child's education. Thank you for coming tonight and attending. I will now turn it over to the MPS nurse, Ms. Susan Waldock.
Hello, thank you so much, Jennifer. Student safety is our priority in the return to school. My name is Susan Waldock. I'm the school nurse for Hamilton High School, and I'm hoping some of my Ham fam is on tonight. I'm also here with school nurse Therese Shepard, the nurse at Bayview Montessori Elementary campuses and Burdick Elementary. There are 3 changes for returning to school to keep our students, families, and community safe. The first is that parents will need to screen their child daily before school for any signs of illness. For all my bigger students, ages 15, 16, 17, 18 and up, I would encourage that they take individual responsibility and check themselves for any signs of illness. Families and adult students will be provided a handout by the school titled Guidelines Regarding a Sick Child, and a parent will be asked to sign and return the handout to the school that confirms your understanding of our new process. With any sign of illness, a student should remain home and log on virtually. The second is that if any student presents with any symptom related to COVID or illness, such as sore throat, cough, runny nose, stomach ache, headache, muscle pain, a parent will be contacted and the student will need to be picked up and then remain virtual for 10 days to ensure safety within our community and our school community. Again, when a student presents to the health office for a complaint of a potential COVID symptom, such as a headache, stomach ache, sore throat, muscle aches or pains, as well as any other sign of COVID or illness, you as the parent or a family representative will be contacted if the student is younger than age 18 and over age 18 if you would like us to do so, and the student will need to be picked up to go home and remain in virtual education for 10 days. Students may return in person to school sooner than 10 days if they return with a documented proof of a negative COVID test and are symptom-free, or if a physician signed or doctor signed note says that they are free and able to return to school. Again, for the safety of all within our school community, my Ham fam and my MPS family, please expect to keep any ill student home for 10 days attending virtual learning, or please get them tested for the coronavirus. If that test is negative, please make them present with the negative test to the school. They can also return with any type of physician signed or doctor signed note that gives them clearance to return to the school. Our third change is to please update the family contact information that you have provided to the school. This is truly a year of increased communication, and I love talking to you, and you and I and the school will have increased needs to share. So please keep our communication clear and have an updated phone number. This is a brief summary of some of the most important changes regarding your return to school. As a school nurse, I'm so excited to meet a lot of my freshmen and anyone else in our new school communities. Please, in returning to the school, help us move forward by keeping your ill students home. I will now turn it over to Mr. Layton Cooper and the Recreation Department. Leighton?
Thank you, Susan. Good evening. My name is Leighton Cooper, Recreation Coordinator for Milwaukee Public Schools before and after school programs. I would like to speak to you briefly tonight about programs offered throughout the district to support young students during the out of school time. Milwaukee Public Schools after-school programs provide high school students with safe spaces to engage with their peers and participate in creative and engaging educational and recreational opportunities during out of school time. Our programs provide tutoring and homework assistance, but also utilize fun and creative ways to engage students in non-traditional learning. High school students can participate in activities such as STEM clubs, book reading and poetry clubs, comic book clubs, and longboarding clubs. Students are exposed to college and career preparatory programs, as well as community-focused volunteer and service learning opportunities. Student athletes can participate in our after-school programs both before and after athletic practices. Safety is of the utmost importance to us. Our programs follow CDC best practices to mitigate exposure to COVID-19. Staff and students are temp checked and undergo health assessments daily for COVID-19 symptoms and exposure prior to entry into our programs. Classroom group sizes are in alignment with the MPS reopening plan and do not exceed 15 students. This allows for appropriate spacing and physical distancing. Lastly, students and staff are required to wear masks while in our programs. For a listing of program locations or to inquire about enrollment at a specific after-school program, please visit www.mkerec.net for a current listing of programs throughout the city. For site-specific questions, please contact your school's program directors listed on the directory. This directory will be updated weekly for a list of the most current up-to-date program information. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Ms. Jacqueline Meifert and Natalie Anderson with the Office of Extended Learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cooper. Good evening, families. My name is Natalie Anderson, and I'm the manager of the Extended Learning Opportunities. I also have with me Jacqueline Meifert, the ELO coordinator. We are so excited to welcome you guys back to school, and we have a lot of exciting activities planned for you this summer. Summer Academy is designed to inspire curiosity, build knowledge, and help students become confident learners, prepared for the challenges ahead of them. To accomplish this, we've redesigned programming to suit the needs of our families and increase student engagement. For the summer of 2021, we are providing curriculum to accelerate student learning to prepare them for the rigor they will face in the next grade level. With that in mind, we have developed new programming and redesigned several programs, which I will highlight during this presentation. Throughout the development of Summer Academy, we were sure to keep in mind the needs of students and families. Special populations such as students with disabilities and ESL students, and in both program design and structure. Registration is occurring virtually as we speak and are available on the MPS Summer Academy homepage. In reopening, we will continue to follow the roadmap to readiness, making sure we keep in mind all safety measures that have been implemented with the district in both class size and safety mitigations. Students will also have an opportunity to participate in summer programming virtually. Through virtual programming, students will also have the same opportunities and curriculum that our in-person students will participate in. All of the programs I'll speak about during this program is located on the summer enrollment site and there is a summer enrollment guide that can give you more specifics to the different programs. For high school, we will have 2 sessions available, the June session and July session, June being June 7th through July 1st, and July session, July 6th through the 28th. All classes will be Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 12:30. We will have our traditional programs such as credit recovery for students needing to recover credits, credit acceleration, where students will have the opportunity to participate in classes they choose in order to get ahead during the summertime. Students will also have the opportunity to participate in several new programs. Our career exploration program is a program based around career interests, where our specialty programs will have our specialty schools will have the opportunity to highlight some of their specialty programs. Schools will host 60 to 90 students in grades 7 through 12. Students will have the opportunity to participate in some CTE courses, career and tech ed courses, as well as languages and other specialized courses such as robotics and app design. We will have a virtual summer program for students with daytime commitments so that those students can also participate in credit recovery and credit acceleration. This program will be held through an online platform where students will work independently online and be provided resource time with licensed teachers in the areas they are participating in. Also new this year, we will have a school skills boost program for students in grades 9 through 10 who meet at-risk criteria and are credit deficient in multiple subjects. Students will participate in specialized curriculum to accelerate them to grade level proficiency. This will focus on student standards deficiencies and provide credit recovery opportunities to gain proficiencies in those areas of weakness. As Jennifer Mims-Howe said, we will also have ESY during the summer. These students will work with their IEP teams to develop the best programming available for those students, and they will have the opportunity to participate in both our high school camps in in June and July session, as well as our middle school and elementary programs. Again, we'll have CATP and on-the-job training programs for our students with special needs. We will also have opportunities for students to participate in internships, youth apprenticeships, as well as community service and service learning. Lastly, we will also have students to participate in our GEDO2 and competency-based programs. These students are already involved in those programs, and their teachers will recommend them for summer school in order to meet graduation standards and graduate in August. Again, we are very excited to welcome your students back. The latest information will always be located on the mke.com/Summer Academy webpage. Just as an addition for our parents and guardians on the line with additional students in lower grade levels, we will also have middle school programming and a lot of exciting camps for middle schoolers based upon their career interests and their academic and career plans. Next slide, please. They can participate in either our June or July session or in our 6-week elementary session. We will also have an elementary session, which is 6 weeks this year. To accommodate our acceleration, students will be participating in 6 one-week theme camps where they will experience the standards that students will participate in the next school year, the upcoming school year. So students will get a jump start to make sure that they're prepared for next school year. Again, we are very excited to have your students back. All the latest information can be found on the MPSMKE.com Summer Academy webpage. We are very excited. Any questions you may have for us, please feel free to contact the ELO office. With that, I'd like to thank you and turn it back over to Mr. Galvan.
Thank you very much to everybody who has presented thus far today. Again, I just wanted to remind everybody present today that any questions that we did receive, we will be answering, and some of them have been answered throughout this presentation. Others can be found on the school reopening page, mymps.org. There are also, if you have a technology question, you can dial 414-438-3400. Transportation questions, 414-475-8922. In addition, if you have a smartphone with a camera, you see here on the PowerPoint a QR code. So if you aim your camera at that QR code, it will take you directly to the school reopening page where you will find questions, answers, other kinds of information there, lots of resources that are available to all our families, both who have students in virtual learning and returning to in-person learning. I do have a few questions that I will be passing on to some of our panelists, and forgive me, but I would like to answer the first question, and it's regards to our teachers being coached on emotionally healthy approaches for students. And yes, as part of our reopening, we are aware that many students, families, community members, teachers will feel a little bit apprehensive about going back to the school for the first time in over a year. So we have again identified resources and lessons for teachers to use with students, for parents and community members to access, because we understand that a student's social and emotional state will impact their ability to learn. So that has been outlined, and those resources are also on the school reopening webpage, and please feel free to find them there. But again, we will address those needs as well as we think about the entire child, both in in-person learning and in virtual learning. Dr. Smith, in high school, will students switch classes while they are in person and virtual?
Good evening, Mr. Galvan. Thank you. High school students will follow their complete course schedule as indicated in Infinite Campus. Each school will have procedures in place to minimize the movements and interactions based on their school size and setup. For our students, signage will direct you as to how you should transition in a safe manner, because we will have physical distancing expectations in place with frequent reminders about the expectations for physical distancing. I'd also like to offer some additional clarity on the start and end times for our high school. This school year, all of our high schools have a common start time, which is 8:05 a.m. and a common end time of the day, which is 3:20 p.m.
Thank you so much. Ms. Hawkins, again, just to be clear, what students are returning? When are high school students returning, and are they all returning?
Mr. Galvan, yes, so high school will start on April 26th. This is all of those students who have turned in a survey to return, but that is for all seniors, and those students needed targeted assistance. And so if you are wondering if your child is in need of targeted assistance, please reach out to your child's high school. But again, we welcome all of our seniors back, as well as those students on April 26th.
Thank you. Dr. Dinkins, what materials should high school students bring to school with them?
All right, so this was one of the questions in the Q&A. And so we have asked our families and our students to limit what they will bring to school. We do know that our high school students and our middle school students will need to carry certain items. They should not need to bring multiple materials, but this will be unique to the school community. And so we're asking our families to limit what they bring, but teachers may have students who need to bring specific academic materials back to school. The Chromebook should not be needed, but if it is, again, work with your child's school community to know what your child will need to bring and what they can leave at home.
Thank you. Ms. Anderson, could you reiterate when summer learning opportunities begin, and again, who can participate in that?
Thank you, Mr. Gavan. Sure. All students can participate in summer activities. We would love to have all your students back with us. Just go online and register. Our high schoolers and middle schoolers will start early as June 7th. And then our elementary as well as middle schoolers can also start June 22nd.
Thank you. Mr. Cooper, will more sites for CLC and camp be available going forward?
Mr. Galvan, we are currently working to open as many after-school options as we can. We are working to train staff and safely open our programs once we have the capacity to do so. So the response to that question, sir, is yes.
Thank you so much. Ms. Mims Howell, again, will IEP meetings be held virtually or in person?
Thank you, Mr. Galvan. IEP meetings will continue to be held virtual, either through a phone conference with the family or on an online platform.
Thank you so much. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Galvan. At this time, families, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this evening. Again, ready, set, let's return to in-person learning. I hope tonight you've received a lot of information that will be helpful to you. Here again, if all of your questions were not answered, please check back into the website as we will continue to answer questions that have come in from parents, as well as there's already some questions out there that other families have asked in the other sessions that you'll see many of the answers to those questions. I want to just have you think about none of us imagined last year in March that we would be in this place. But I want you to know that we are willing and able to work collaboratively to figure this out for kids. We are now approaching the class of 2021. And although many of our students may have missed some of the opportunities that would have been provided, we now have that opportunity to provide our students with in-person learning. So we are hoping that you have gained some more knowledge and information as to how we can all return safe back to in-person learning. If I left you with anything tonight, if we left you with anything, we want to just remind you of just a few things to help you have a safe return to in-person learning. And that is, remember to talk to your child about returning to school and the safety precautions that they will see in place. We are definitely encouraging people to come in with masks, make sure they understand the hand washing and also the physical distancing. It will look different, but here again, we are ready to get back to the business of teaching and learning in person. The other thing we talked a lot about is if your child is sick, we do ask you to keep them at home. Here again, make sure if you do receive a phone call from the nurse that you are able to get to your child so that we do not cause any sickness to anyone else. And then lastly, please communicate with your child's school. There are a lot of different and unique situations. And so we do want to make sure that you definitely check in with your child's school. Again, we are very excited to return to in-person learning. We are going to move with acceleration so that we can move through these last few weeks of school. And we're also preparing for our summer opportunities. So please, here again, if your questions haven't been answered, make sure you return to the website and we will definitely answer all of those questions. Remember, ready, set, let's return to a safe in-person learning. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing your young person on April 26th. Thank you.